Draw here in game 3 with the white pieces to take the win in the match. And here we go.
Yeah, we've been talking about Anichess. He really needs to wave his magic wand now, Duda. Yeah, he needs to get back into this match somehow.
Yeah.
So far, he's just been outgunned. He's been outclassed by Liem. And with black, it won't be easy. OK, Queen's Gambit declined so far. What will Liem choose? How will he kind of take the sting out of this game? OK, he brings this knight out. They call this the main position, where black has a bunch of choices. I was going to say Duda often plays this, the Vienna variation, grabbing a pawn temporarily as black. It's very ambitious.
Yeah,
So there's, what do you guys think?
a couple of forced draws, aren't there, in this variation that Duda has to avoid the black pieces. That's sometimes the problem in playing, you know, the black pieces. If White wants to, and he's aware of the theory, he can go to a drawing line. Mm-hmm. This is the move I play, actually, and I give up the pawn, but it's a little bit dangerous maybe in a match situation.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, Liem is a very highly combative player, and we just see it's not very easy for him to switch styles. So where he will play in the most uncompromising way. Now, black does have a choice. He can actually develop the dark squared bishop and pin the knight, or he can also, OK, that's what we see, he can also defend the pawn by picking up the b pawn and moving it 2 squares. And now we are in the variation called the Vienna.
Mm-hmm. I love this position as white. It's one of my favourite opening variations. You know, you can give up the pawn and get a tremendous initiative with just bishop takes pawn here, and he's played that, which I think is quite a scary line for black in general, theoretically. But Duda's got to take some risks, so at least he's a pawn up if he can survive the attack, which he'll probably face soon.
And incidentally, this particular variation was actually recommended by Sam Shankland in his chessable course. And
From the black side?
From the white side.
The white side.
From the white side, yeah, because there are other moves available to white. You don't have to sacrifice a pawn. But Sam, you know, he has a very committal style, and he says, OK, here you should.
I think it's very principled, right, to sacrifice the pawn, because black's got very bad development, white's got lovely development, and look at black's king side. Black has to put the king over there. This is one of the sharper variations, which can lead to a forced draw, if I remember correctly. So this is the problem with the way black's playing. I can't remember the forced draw, but I'm sure there's some forced draw here somewhere.
Yeah, in these lines, I've looked at them from the black side a few times. I was just too scared to ever touch them, because even if black knows everything, then, as you mentioned, Simon, you might be able to get the draw. And, I mean, white is just 2 or 3 moves ahead with development. Often, if you're 2 moves ahead with development, that does equal a pawn. And maybe if we just check in to show why black didn't grab a second pawn in this position. White has already given up the central pawn. If he grabs here, I mean, there's plenty of ways. As far as I know, you can even bring your bishop out just to cut the king off, to stop the black king from castling. It will never castle to safety now, and even if black goes and grabs an exchange in the corner, then this is just a disaster for black. Black's king, I mean, look at all of black's pieces. They are just all asleep, especially on this side of the board. And if you can't castle either due to this X-ray vision of the bishop, it's just game over. White is actually going to push forward, open up a diagonal, and his queen will hit this pawn. This is just unacceptable, so he retreated. He didn't kind of allow the white bishop to enter this diagonal, and now the white knight jumping forward. OK, this last move by black. Again, I remember studying this position, and this wasn't the move.
Kind of asking for it.
Yeah.
He's asking for so many sacrifices here.
I think I'm supposed to kick away this knight, if I remember correctly. But yeah, you mentioned sacrifices, Simon.
I mean, that is top computer choice, you know.
And there's a couple, right? I mean, he's got knight f7, bishop e6, knight east. I mean,
the queen can also come out, threaten good old-fashioned scholar's mate. That's a great move. But the top computer suggestion is actually bishop takes pawn.
Wow, OK, so, I mean, even these natural moves look strong, but bishop takes pawn, Jovanka, wow, giving up a piece. If black captures, if black takes the bait, then I guess we just recapture with the knight, hitting the queen. Wherever the queen runs, do we just play it slow? Just move the rook?
That's right. You've got to play it in a classy way, and the rook lines up against the king. And if the king tries to get out of Dodgetown, then unfortunately it's not going to get that far, because after a check, the king is forced to step back.
OK, I can understand why this wasn't played, because this move that was played looks really good as well without giving up a piece, right?
Yeah.
Because you're forcing Black's response, and now the queen can still stop Black from castling, and you've got all these threats against Black's king. Looks horrendous for Black, this position.
I mean, you're stuck in the centre. You're suffering just for the price of one pawn. Yeah, as you mentioned, Simon, all of these variations, even that last one we showed with the knight, Black can never ever castle. And if you can't castle, what are you doing? Do you really have to step back, undevelop your piece with the bishop to kick away the white queen? White's queen will just slide back, and again, these types of ideas are all on the cards. I mean, everything's just pointing at the Black king.
That looks really scary. I mean, I'm all in favour of retreating this dark square bishop and just going,
Just praying.
But here, oof.
I mean, White's attacking with one piece, two pieces, three pieces. Soon it will be a fourth. Soon this bishop will join in. It will be a fifth piece. How many defenders are there? I mean, it's not enough, simply.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
It's looking good for Liem Le. Remember, he only needs a draw in this game to win the match and take all 3 points against Jan-Christoph Duda and Liem. He did stop by Sverre for a comment after the previous game that he won. Let's hear what Liem said. In a second.
We were saying before the match today that you were looking to reset after game 1. You thought you got lucky, but maybe that was the start of some great chess to come.
Yeah, probably. I think this round, game 2 is perhaps my best game so far in the tournament. It was a really complicated game, and I think I outplayed him in the middle game. I cannot say if I was better on the way, but I think I managed to find some really good moves.
Duda is a player that you seem to play well against. Why is that?
Well, he's a very fighting player, so we are always getting interesting positions, and I like playing him.
You like playing the Champions Chess Tour as well, especially when it's going like this, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We look forward to seeing more good chess from you, Liem.
Okay, thank you.
That is very understandable. Liem Le enjoying himself, probably also in this position, but expecting some fighting chess from Duda. Is that what Jan-Christoph Duda is doing in this game, David? Just trying to bring a fight?
Yeah, I mean, he's inviting the whole white army into his camp. He's just saying, OK, my king's in the center, it's a target. But, I mean, I don't think he's used his magic wand enough here, Duda, because all the magic he's trying to make work, it's all in White's favor.
I mean, oh, look at the bar.
Yeah.
You know, it's well up in, Liem Le's favour there. So it's
Well spotted, Simon.
I know. It just shows how much he's dominating the position.
Finally, the Grandmasters as well is recognizing the bar. I'm so happy.
The bar is a powerful thing.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
It's not like you to hang out in bars, Simon. Look at bars.
I do like my bars occasionally. So, but it's...
But Duda's last move, at least it kind of holds some squares together. Black is only 2 moves away from actually achieving a decent position. Let's jump in and show what has happened. We're definitely in favour of White here, I think, all of us. But in order to make the breakthrough, we need to be quite quick. Black, if given time, for example, if White just waits too slowly, makes a nothing move, if Black can move his bishop and suddenly castle the king to safety, Black is a pawn up. And suddenly this white queen will look a bit silly having entered the wrong side of the board, on the wrong side of Black's army. So we need to do something in this current position. If we backtrack, we need to do something now before Black can move his bishop and castle the king. So we have 2 moves. We need something at least. We need some kind of creativity, some kind of magic. What do we think here? I'm struggling to see a big breakthrough.
It'd be nice if you can move pieces on the same squares as other pieces, wouldn't it, in chess?
You want to use this square for the bishop?
Yeah, so I kind of want to get rid of that knight. I mean, I think taking the pawn is just not... It might be OK, but it's nothing special, probably. I mean, even rook b1 is probably OK, but just improving. But maybe move the knight back somewhere. But I don't like moving pieces backwards if I can. Don't know.
Moving the knight back does kind of create this threat, maybe, with a really nasty pin. I say kind of because Black could possibly allow it and then jump out the way with his knight with a counterattack, like allowing this queen to drop, hitting the white queen. But here, White has various ways to maybe win material. So, yeah, the problem is maybe for Liem, there's too many tempting moves. Kind of, do you drop back, initiate this threat of a pin? Do you? I mean, I really like this move, Simon. This piece is the only one doing nothing, and you just slide across, making it kind of unattractive for black to move his bishop, because then this pawn would drop. That's kind of a nice calm move where you just throw the. Okay, I was going to say you throw the move back to black and you say, what are you actually doing? But no, he goes for the direct threat. And this one is menaced now. The other reason I wasn't 100% sure about this is because black's rook can maybe kick the queen out of... kick the queen out, it has to retreat. But this is still a nasty idea, the bishop to g5. Yeah, I mean, somehow black, it just doesn't feel like he's going to be in time to defend everything. He'll have to give up something, maybe whether it's a pawn, whether it's castling rights. What do we think here? I didn't really see a move for black, to be honest. I mean, this type of pin is just deadly. If black castles now, the white queen steps back and white breaks through on this diagonal. Yeah, I like this retreat.
I also like the retreat. It was also on my radar as well. I'm stuck for a move for black. I can't think of a single thing other than maybe just develop the bishop and just kind of grit the teeth and go, whoa, that's ugly, but maybe it survives. Because after the bishop comes out, you do have the move that you suggested. The knight comes out and counterattacks.
Yeah.
But there you're giving...
I guess white, I mean, firstly, white could take the queen and then take the rook, and white is an exchange up, so rook for bishop and pawn. So I don't think there's much risk here for Liem. If he only needs a draw, this should be fine. But also after this knight jump, maybe instead of taking the queen, white can just capture a pawn.
That looks really scary.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be safe pawn up probably here.
Still threatening the queen. If black blocks, now you can capture this pawn with a check. I mean, this looks like disaster for black. Like you said, Simon, very minimum, white will be a pawn up.
All right. Well, it could be a short day for these two players. Jan-Christoph Duda, he has to win this game to take it to a fourth game and potentially Armageddon. It's looking, or tiebreaks. It's looking good for Liem. If they do have a short day, well, of course, they can hit the beach in Miami. Sverre is out and about the arena. What's going on, Sverre?
Well, I found myself, my favorite guest here, Alejandro Ramirez. It's good to have someone to turn to in the time of need and in the time of wonder, because right now we're seeing Liem who's suddenly playing good chess again.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that Duda's in so much trouble is not so much a reflection of the Polish player's preparation, but it's a reflection of what happened in the first game. Le Quang, he didn't play a very good opening, and Duda was all over him. But what happened, it was that Le was resilient, and the tables turned very suddenly on the Polish player. And Le Quang ended up winning that game with white, wins the second one in a row, and now he seems up 2-0. And normally in a tournament that's classical, you have a full day to recover, you can psychologically put yourself in a new state. But what happens in these rapid matches? Boom, the next game starts, and immediately Duda goes wrong. He doesn't even need to go down to lose the match. Le Quang is in full control of this match, and it's more of a reflection, as I said, of what happened psychologically on the first game of the day than on Duda's preparation or his playing ability.
I thought it was interesting when Liem spoke to me quickly before walking into the game that he really likes playing against those guys who offer fighting chess, and Duda is one of them. Why is Liem so comfortable against fighting chess players, you think?
The Polish fighter is known to always bring complications to the board. And what Le Quang likes to do is to have this positionally sound situations over the board and wait for his opponent to do something too aggressive, something that invites complications but are perhaps not sound. And Le Quang is a brilliant calculator and has the style to punish this type of chess.
So I think that Liem has probably set the trap and is ready to pounce.
Absolutely. Thanks for that report, Sverre and Alejandro, out and about in Miami under the burning sun. And Liem, he can soon hit the beach if he just gets a draw in this game. What is the most likely result right now in this game?
Should we have a vote?
Yeah.
I think white win.
I'd have to say a white win as well. I think Duda would rather lose than draw anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be a full house here. We don't really have any confidence in Duda's ability to turn this one around and win it. I mean, I think his position is just too dangerous, and I think Liem will just win this.
Yeah, and the thing is, the evaluation bar says 0.8. It doesn't sound like much, but that is even if black defends super accurately like a computer with all the best moves. And I think here in the studio, we're struggling to find any acceptable defense. Duda now thinking for 5 minutes. Clearly, he's struggling to find an acceptable defense as well. So even if he miraculously stumbles across some defensive resource, then he still has a kind of a disadvantage to face. And in a must-win situation, that's not easy.
So 0.8, is that almost 3 pawns?
It's almost 1 pawn. So
1 point is 0.9. Is that it?
+1 is 1 pawn forward.
Ah, okay.
So white's actually a pawn down in the position, but the computer gives 0.8 advantage, which is nearly 1 pawn advantage. So that's how strong white's kind of initiative, the momentum is, that even being a pawn down, the computer gives him an advantage. I remember 10 years ago, if you were a pawn down, the computer not giving you any advantage, that just meant it's not sound. But computers were really distrustful. They were very materialistic. But here, computers understand that white is doing well, and white can even, there we go, one accurate move. In a difficult position, we can't fault Duda there. It was very difficult from a human point of view, facing a scary attack. But one bad move, and it shoots up. So there's different types of 0.8 advantage. There's different types of 0.5. Some are very likely to grow if the opponent doesn't find the best defense. And there we go. Liem has recovered his pawn, still with a massive threat of bringing the dark squared bishop in to attack the black queen.
I was going to ask you put a question into my head, and that was because you asked about this pawn evaluation, 0.1, 0.8, 1 point whatever. Is it easier if we were to go like 60% chance of winning?
I know, so Norwegian TV2, right? When they cover chess, they use the percentage. You know, 60% chance of winning. Yeah?
Yeah, that's how AI, like AlphaZero, that's how they calculate. When AlphaZero evaluates a position, it would say to itself, okay, if I play this position 100 times against myself, how many times would I win? And it would say, okay, 52% or 68%, or and that's how it evaluates. Rather than kind of general terms, we say, oh, white has a slight advantage, which could mean a variety of things. It could mean it's a temporary advantage, could mean a long-term advantage, or sometimes we say it's equal or unclear. But it could be equal, but both sides have chances to win, or it could be equal, dead draw. There's lots of different ways. So maybe the percentage way is the future.
I do like the kind of materialistic way that the bar is showing us, though, because I can sort of imagine 1 pawn up, or even like, ooh, a knight up. That's you know, that must be a big advantage.
It's like a score in sports.
Yeah.
Football, basketball.
Yeah.
I quite like this way. I grew up this way. But one thing that does trigger me is when youngsters are like, oh, I think this looks like a 0.4 position, which means nothing. It happens all the time.
Yeah, I mean, so many people are addicted to these percentages now. It just makes me feel sick. Like, you know, you analyse with... you can be someone who's just started out in chess even, you know, they're playing the first couple of tournaments and they say, you know, I don't like your suggestion, it's dropped by 0.2, my computer, and it's like, oh, come on, you've got to look at the position. Yeah. So you can get very obsessed by the computer's assessment, and you can be looking at that more than the actual position when you're trying to learn. So it's really important to sometimes turn the computer off, I think, you know, just don't have it working for you, because you're not learning anything by just staring at that point going up and down all the time.
What I tend to do when I'm working with computers, I'm not a big computer fan, so to speak, but when I do use them, I'm always like choosing the move that comes to me naturally, and I look at the computer's evaluation. And sometimes, you know, it doesn't drop that much, so I'm like, okay, that is the move I'm going to play, because it was my instincts.
Yeah, I think all you need actually to evaluate a position is, you know, would I prefer to be white or would I prefer to be black? If you prefer white, then probably white has an advantage, or at least in practical terms, it's easier to play. It doesn't matter the objectivity if it's an actual game between two humans. Sometimes the computer might say +1 for black, but actually black needs to find 10 or 20 only moves in a row. Yeah. And then he has an advantage. Everything else, and he'll lose on the spot. And in that type of situation, you'd rather be white, even if the computer disagrees. So, yeah, it's just whose position do you prefer, whose position are you more attracted to, and why? That's the only thing you really need to.
What would these games look like, for example, in the top tournaments, if the players would have the bar on the screen? Would games finish sooner? Would we have less blunders, perhaps?
I feel it's just the evaluation bar that's interesting, because the blunders, I guess, would still occur.
Yeah.
But then maybe they would be punished really ruthlessly, because when we see the bar swing, we know there's been a big mistake. And sometimes we've seen situations where someone blunders, but the other player trusts them, or the other player doesn't call their bluff, or the other player just isn't aware, and the game just goes back to 0 and it continues again.
There was an argument, wasn't there, actually, to bring into online chess. I think someone was mentioning that you could look at the evaluation, like at 2 points in the game. People do it anyway, so why not allow it? And then you can, like you say, it'd really improve the quality of your play. If it's like someone shaking you and saying you've got a forced win here, right? Yeah. So that's basically what you're getting with the evaluation. If it changes a lot, then alarm bells are ringing, so you know to look for the win when you might not have done otherwise. So.
But it can also go the other way, because sometimes we've seen the evaluation bar just go massively up, but not because of a sacrifice, actually because of positional manoeuvre. Now, there's a little bit few and far between that this happens, but you know, we've been like, what's wrong? Why was the computer liking it so much? And you can probably see people just kind of implode, just completely self-destruct, looking for those forcing continuations when it's not there. So it can be a double-edged sword, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. The top players, though, they're so strong, they don't want to know the moves, they don't want to know the evaluation, they just want to kind of feel the position, and they're there for the ride.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the queens have been exchanged in this game, so we won't see any checkmates, any direct attacks, but Liem does have full control. Still that lead in development. I love White's rook in the centre, staring down at the black king. I love this knight in the middle of the board. It looks like a risk-free advantage, and that's all that Liem needs. This game might not be over too quickly, though, so Duda just needs to survive and keep the tension and hope that Liem eventually cracks, or that Liem maybe tries too hastily to force a draw. Yeah, I just love this type of position for White.
I agree. I certainly do. And whilst the players are considering what moves to play, well, we are running a selfie competition where we're asking you, well, to show us how you're watching the tour, who you're watching with. And Marlene Sutmuller says that they're watching from the Netherlands.
Oh!
Tex, Kathy and Marlene enjoying chess. Oh, look at the dog. And Uras...
Is it a dog or a cat?
Is it? I thought it was a dog. No, it's a cat.
It's a cat.
It's a cat. Sorry, my eyes. And
It looks like a tiger.
it's a very cool cat.
Yeah.
Uras Kevanet says that getting inspired by the Super GM Symphony-like plays while working on my music at my
Nice.
studio. Let's go, Magnus. So we've got Magnus fan cheering from Turkey. And remember, if you want to enter our selfie competition to have a chance at winning the Airthings View Wave Plus, then remember to tweet us using the hashtag ChessChamps with your picture. And it's best if you do it in landscape mode.
Yeah. We want to see your selfies, some very cool ones there, composing some music as well. And we do see Liem with headphones, probably listening to music, because they are allowed to do that in this arena. I think I've heard rumors Liem likes to listen to some classical music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he listened to in the Oslo Esports Cup. You know, he's in Miami now. He might be inspired by, you know...
Rap music. I feel that's Miami style. Rap music, maybe. Yeah. Well, it's getting close for Liem winning this match and gaining his first points in the tournament. He will get 3 points if he only gets a draw. In this game, the bar is slightly over to his side. The other matches as well is going on. The bar is slightly to the middle between Levon Aronian and Magnus Carlsen. Levon has to win either this game or the next one to take it to tiebreaks, because Magnus Carlsen is in the lead. He won the first game. Today, the bar is maybe going slightly towards Levon Aronian's side with the white pieces in game 3, but still, early days. And Hans Niemann, Pragnananda, they are tied, winning 1 game each. This is game 3, and I guess the bar is slightly over to Prag's side in this game. We will keep a close eye on that as well. Anish Giri and Alireza Firouzja, I think the bar is slightly over to Alireza's side in that game. Some exciting matches going on. For Liem, he could be about to decide the match against Jan-Christoph Duda.
Yeah, and both players have been investing quite a lot of time.
Yeah, actually.
And I'm slightly surprised, because there are some relatively straightforward decisions. I was thinking just improve the 2 white rooks. OK, he's lifting 1 rook up the board. Simon, you're like this, a swinger. The rook swinging maybe towards the black king. Despite the queens being off, maybe some hints of an attack. And okay, the black knight just finds itself on a decent square. It can get kicked away, however, by a pawn later on.
Are we seeing some hints on the computer?
Yeah, what is Liem going to do? Is he... I don't see his mouse. Is he going to click on his rook in the far left corner, the part of the screen we can't see? Maybe swing that white rook in the corner across, double up the two rooks together. That would be very sensible in this position.
Seems like Black's should be quite happy here. I mean, I say happy, considering he could have got blown off the board 10 moves away. He's getting his king to a safe square. Yeah. His king's going to be safe. He's got kind of a... He's got a good knight, you know, which is quite hard to kick away because it might jump in. It's not as bad as it was, I'm thinking. Yeah. It might be sort of playable at least now, you know, so better. It's got better.
Yeah, I think it's gotten a lot better, and I'm not sure about Liem's last move. I mean, it looked very tempting. You know, the bishop is threatening to plonk itself on the f6 square, but the black king is going to cover that square, and, you know, the black rook, the bishop, they're coordinating very nicely.
So the bishop wants to sneak in. Jovanka, the king, could move, covering that square, threatening a nasty fork. This pawn, if it pushes, will hit the knight and hit the bishop. I guess Liem's idea is to drop the knight back, threatening this nasty check and a skewer. OK, we'll see this happen. Most likely he has dropped his knight back. But now I guess this is an easy way to stop it, and that's what Duda does. He chooses to drop his bishop, and OK, now the bishops have left the board. It looks a bit balanced to me, but the fact that Black was cramped and is now trading off pieces, that definitely is a positive. White, it feels like Liem is just trying to force the exchanges, trying to force the nature of the game, and to me that's a warning sign. I've been there many times myself, trying to force a draw against higher rated players or force a draw in a situation where that result is good, but it never works like that. You always give your opponent chances if you take suboptimal decisions.
Yeah, and
suddenly the black bishop can kind of find itself on a good diagonal, for example.
I mean, yeah, if you can get the bishop there and start moving. I mean, I quite like Black's pawn structure in the long run. You know, in the open H file. I mean, it kind of seems all right actually. Yeah, if you can get the bishop out, David. I mean, Black could suddenly be better, couldn't he?
Definitely.
I mean, no doubt that's.
Okay, a bit of a
slightly peculiar, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit of an odd one. I was going to say another reason Black might be better long term is because it's one pawn island. It's two pawn islands in total. All these pawns connect. White, however, has three. White does have an isolated pawn on the side as well as two kind of hanging pawns. But it's a bit odd what Duda's doing. He pushed his pawn forward. I'm not sure that improves his position too much, and now gaining space. Does he really want to activate his rook this way? It's very slow though. Okay, White, meanwhile, has created a direct threat, capturing a pawn with a check, defended by the white knight. How to defend against this? Do you block with your own knight? Do you push this pawn? I don't really want to push this pawn because it's weakening. Suddenly a big target on this square. And if you don't want to push, the least committal move is to bring the rook across. But then the rook isn't on the open file that you mentioned, Simon. So, interesting decision. This just feels too slow to me. Why not improve your bishop? Okay, Black now jumping out with a knight.
It's a bit extravagant, pushing the A-pawn, it seems, when you should be concentrating on getting your pieces into the game. This is relying on... Yeah, I mean, this actually is probably a good way to defend everything, isn't it? Yeah. I was going to say it's relying on tactics, but it's not.
Yeah, so if White pushes a pawn to kick away the Black Knight can just retreat and defend the key f7 square, also eyeing up the white bishop, so the knight will be quite well placed. At first I thought White could maybe simplify things and force a draw by capturing a pawn, and here pushing a pawn forward because there's a pin along this line, but suddenly the black rook could come down and pin the white pawn, and I don't think this will end very well for White. You can't regain the knight that you sacrificed, at least not just yet. So instead Liem drops his bishop back, and yeah, it does feel like he's trying to force things, and it's not quite working so far. Surely now it's time to activate one of these two pieces.
Yeah, and he's trying to maybe just exchange off that knight, make more exchanges, as you say, but it's still okay for him. Still probably a draw is likely, but it's a game of chess now.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Still enough pieces for Duda to kind of whip up some kind of imbalance and cause some concern for Liem later.
I mean, I quite like what Duda's doing. You know, he's taken a very maximalist approach. You know, he's grabbing space and saying to Liem he believes, he has faith that the position on the right will hold. And but it's remarkable that we are 27 moves in and the light square bishop has not left its starting square.
Could stay there the whole game.
Sleeping giant.
Yeah.
Do you think it will break out by move, or not break out, move by move 30?
What move are we on?
We're 27.
No chance.
No chance.
No chance. No. Give it move 40 maybe. Yeah, so.
Well, 2 games have finished in this round 3. It's a draw between Hans Niemann and Pragnananda, still tied after 3 games. It could all be decided in game 4 if we have a winner in that game. If that one too is a draw, well then those 2 will fight it out in blitz tiebreaks. And so will Anish Giri and Alireza Firouzja. 3 draws in their match so far. If we have a winner between them in game 4, that will be the winner of the match. And if it's a draw, then blitz tiebreaks. It's looking very likely that we will see some dramatic blitz tiebreaks today as well. Let's hope for that. In this one, it's very unlikely.
Very unlikely, but Duda's keeping his kind of slim chances alive. Now he just brings his rook across, defending the slightly tender f7 pawn. A bit passive, gotta say. I'm expecting Harry the h-pawn and White's h-pawn to step forward 2 squares now. You might as well, OK, there we go. We see it on Liem's screen. I think he's just about played it. There we go. White's h-pawn did step forward. You might as well push pawns on the side where you're stronger. And that's where White has potentially a passed h-pawn. Black's knight stepping back. OK, bit of a threat.
Yeah, but that's about it. You know, he's just threatening to move the knight, centralise itself, attack the rook.
Well, hang a minute. What move is it?
It is move 30.
Oh.
Bishop might move on move
31. Yeah.
Should have had a bet there, Simon.
Yeah. Close, though.
Yeah. Black's light square bishop does have a nice square now on b7 to attack White's rook on the long diagonal. It just feels like it's turning. I know the evaluation bar is still not too concerned, but it does feel like Duda's at least creating something. And, okay.
Well, I like the bar, but I trust you more, David.
Oof,
I've learned that.
I don't know. I mean, it's still in the balance. I think objectively it's equal. Just in terms of human psychology, now all 3 results definitely possible. The tension is building. And normally that favours the side who has something kind of who can take risk, who can kind of has nothing else to lose, like Duda. If you have something to cling to, like Liem, then you do take these negative decisions, like he's been doing in this game, swapping queens, swapping bishops. OK, now the bishop did move 31. Yep. And White's rook is going to jump out the way.
Yeah, I was going to say it's super important, actually, to maintain those light squared bishops because, you know, if you do initiate a trade, then this is simply going to favour Black. Certainly, Black's rooks are going to be way more active. There's going to be a lot more potential with his pawn structure because it's more flexible. And this is not in White's interest. White needs to keep the rooks on and perhaps generate some attacking possibilities on the right.
So we're expecting White's rook to move somewhere on the 3rd rank. And, OK, it's going to be a bit of a time scramble as well. Both sides now down under 4 minutes. Yeah, who would you pick? I'm still struggling. I think I would pick Black, if anyone. Just the momentum of the game. I mean, having survived that kind of nightmare opening where he was actually lost after, 10 moves? I mean, this is a dream position to reach.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just psychologically, it's going to be tough for White now to sort of, well, I mean, you know, to get into the right frame mood, I think so. And Jan's got nothing to lose in this game, so I think there's a great chance there'll be a fourth game coming up, actually. Time, they're both, like you said, they're both getting low, nothing that concerning at the moment.
Yeah, I could just see scenarios where somehow White's pawns on the left side of the board, they come under fire from Black's knight, or Black's rook can attack actually White's pawns on the right side as well. I don't know. I mean, it's still a lot to play for.
I also think that Liem will, as the clock starts ticking down, make a committal decision. And Duda, you know, he's been in this situation before. I can remember one final where he played against Magnus. He was 2-0 down. Magnus just needed a draw. And Duda
struck back.
Duda struck back, and it was a hopeless position out of the opening. And
the one thing I will say about Duda is that he is the opposite of a morning person. He likes to wake up in the afternoon, and they do start the games at 12 o'clock. He's had success on the tour when we start at 6 p.m. European time. He's kind of peaking. He's reaching kind of his freshest in the afternoon, evening. But I remember tournaments where he's waking up 2, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and this is not ideal for him. Body clock is such an important thing, especially in speed chess. And despite winning on the first day, for me, he's just not quite at his sharpest. Normally, I'm kind of used to seeing Duda just super aggressive, just throwing pieces at the opponent, taking massive risks, and imbalancing things. Here, it just feels, yeah. I mean, he feels like he's a bit slow. He's now just spent nearly 2 minutes on this last move. I'm not sure whether it's a great one. It's a provocative move, attacking White's pawn in the corner, asking White to step some pawns forward. But yeah, it just feels like he's a bit tentative. We saw that in the Blitz yesterday against Levon Aronian. He was slow, Duda, at least what we're compared to normal.
But I do remember Oslo Esports Cup. He had a very slow start to the tournament, and he won the whole thing.
he was like a submarine, right? From nowhere, suddenly, oh, look at that. Duda's in 4th place, or 3rd place.
But yeah, can you relate to him with the sleeping though, David? The need to wake up late in the day and...
I would hate playing at 12 o'clock
Ooh, well,
midday.
Didn't you do that in the Olympiad? Was it 12?
It was 3 p.m.
Oh, it was 3. Okay, you're fine.
I never once woke up before 11:30. And okay, well, what is this? Okay, I thought this was a bit of a blunder, but no, maybe the black rook is safe enough. It looks like an odd choice of square, Simon. This rook in the eye line of White's light squared bishop, but
yeah,
safe for now.
I mean, I'd like to get rid of that bishop as well, so I guess the natural move is to bring the knight back into the centre. Look at the forcing moves first, so that move would attack the rook and aim to exchange the bishop off. And But, you know, I think the way Duda's playing this, Duda's going for White's A-pawn, the pawn on the side of the board, and if Black can ever capture that pawn, then he's gonna have a runner.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a runner coming down the board.
Yeah.
Ari the A-pawn, and I know you're going to say Alice, but I'm still saying Ari. He's running. So
We're seeing it, Simon. White's version of Alice is about to drop.
Yeah.
But what can happen here? I guess you can capture this bishop in the centre of the board. The black knight has to take back due to a pin on this line. The black knight has to capture. I don't know. Do we really see a rook takes pawn move and allow black his choice of pawns over here? It feels like
maybe we can go like bishop c4 or something.
Yeah. If we want the draw, maybe this is
okay,
a more secure way to do it.
So he's gone for another option, David.
Okay, dropping his bishop back. There is a trap, I guess. If rook takes this pawn, then the white knight will jump out the way, checking the black king, gaining time. And next move, the white rook has a discovered attack, will win the black rook.
And he's kind of hoping for the same if the rook captures the other pawn.
Which it has done, actually.
And I'm guessing that white will now attack the bishop. And once the bishop steps away, then the knight will jump into the f5 square. And there will be rook takes rook. But I have to say, yes, the operation was a success, but it might ultimately be a failure because there's a lot of pawns that have come with that maneuver.
It's getting messy as well, isn't it?
Very messy. So he actually drops his bishop back to a different square. Now after the knight check, I guess his idea is knight takes knight, the white rook captures the black rook, and now knight takes pawn. And you're right, Simon, it's a lot of pawns hitting this bishop now, threatening a nasty knight check on the f3 square. Oof, this one looks very good for black suddenly.
Yeah.
Does white have something better in the current position other than this knight check? Because if he doesn't, I mean, maybe you could flick in this one first and then do the knight check, but again, a lot of pawns. Suddenly, Liem is the one fighting for his life, both sides around 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Black is a pawn up. He has something to cling to.
And you're right, David and Simon, because the best move for white is actually to flick in that pawn move, according to the computer. And there's a second pawn move, actually, that white can play, which it suggests, which is also quite unique. It's actually to pick up Harry and move it up 1 square.
Wow.
And that one's a bit unusual.
We won't see that one, I think.
We definitely won't. And then white's third option is actually to play the check. But there, black would be better.
Yeah, so, I mean, the reason I'm so, sceptical about this move is it seems to be playing very slowly, not creating any immediate threat, but maybe some ideas against the Black King. But yeah, this one forcing things in the center. I guess you get there by process of elimination. You see that the knight check wasn't so attractive as we showed, and now maybe the knight check is more effective because there are some ideas of this knight being attacked. So after knight takes knight, also after the black knight jumps in, at least now this bishop is blocked, and we're going to see this happen. We're going to see it on the board. I'm not sure where the knight is going. You could make an argument for capturing this pawn. You could jump in the center. Which way?
I think Black's got everything he wants, though, all of a sudden, from the opening, which is horrible. He's got, if you need to win the game, the first thing to do is unbalance the situation, get some kind of material situation which is not symmetrical, and that's what Duda's got. He's got a very unbalanced situation now, and this means the winning chances have increased greatly.
Massively, yeah. So, you're right, Simon. For example, if you take this pawn, even if we see, I mean, a bunch of exchanges here, actually, we can't do this, can we? Because now there's a knight check at the end. I mean, this is so tricky now. This knight is jumping all over the place. But I was going to say, in this position, if we do a quick count, Black does have, at least for now, 3 pawns and a knight for a rook. So Black is actually up on material. Oof, I really hate what's happened for Liem here. He's completely lost control. And he has to be accurate now to fight for his life.
Yeah.
Maybe he has to give a check, try and maybe exchange a set of rooks. If he can achieve this, then maybe now he can contemplate capturing this pawn, or maybe capturing this one first. I'm not sure which way. But he needs to hoover the pieces off the board and make that draw, because it's not going to last for long. Things are turning in Black's favour.
Yeah, definitely. And those 2 pawns that are there by themselves on the right side, to the left side of the board, and then they have the potential to be very scary. He doesn't actually give the rook check. He decides to keep both sets of rook on the board and instead attacks the bishop.
Mm-hmm. The bishop drops back, and now I guess his idea is to give the rook check. He will trade off a set of rooks, and we see this happen. And at the very end, White's idea, again, I guess you take this pawn, but you could make it. Oh, actually, I'm not sure about this one, because suddenly the black pawns step forward. Oof. Maybe the idea is to take this pawn instead, and you're just hoping that everything comes off the board. But I would choose Black. Just so many pawns. Black can keep bishops on the board even by taking here. Both sides of the board, Black will have an advantage.
Ooh, and he takes the risk, and...
Ooh, he does take the other pawn, and suddenly these two are rolling. Oh, he's lost control.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, if that black pawn goes 1 square further forwards, it's got to be Black who's going to be winning this now. I mean, already some calculations needed.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm seeing is that the Black King will suddenly start mobilising itself, and then it will just park itself on the d6 square, and all it takes is for Black to now utilise the knight and then get on with the goal of pushing those pawns. And, well, Duda just does it.
Yeah, one-sided traffic. White's pawn is easily blockaded. Where do you even put the rook? He puts it on this square, and as Ivanka mentions, knight check. Get that knight off the rim, off the side of the board. Wow, you can't even go to this square. There's all sorts of knight forks that I'm falling into here. Liam's got to hope he doesn't fall into them. I guess you go this direction, but at the very least, the black knight ends up on a nice central square. I'm not sure you even go this way. Maybe you can go this way too, after some weaknesses. It's all about Duda right now. I think we will see a game 4 in this match.
Yeah, definitely.
Big turnaround.
Yep, looks that way. I mean, I think definitely Black's going to win this one now. Two connected pass pawns, and just the tide of this game since the opening has just gone in Duda's way. He's played so well to come back, though. Shows his fighting spirit, and you know why he's playing this tournament. I mean, it's that extra percentage a lot of these players have, isn't it? You know, there's other players who are maybe similar to them, but they're not as good because they just sort of maybe give up a little bit too early. But in hopeless situations, I would have resigned probably. These guys just continue, you know, and they fight on, and it looks like we get that 4th game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, definitely looks like the opening gamble paid off.
Well, I'm not sure about that. it was still pretty bad, wasn't it? You know, I mean, you know, it was a really bad opening, wasn't it?
But impressive fighting spirit by Duda. And is it also that sort of Liem just playing too much on that draw that he needed and ending up in this bad situation.
Yeah, definitely. You know, he had a great position out of the opening, and he perhaps played it a little bit too safely at points, and then he just tried to force the draw. And as you can see, it's not happening because there are two players playing chess, unfortunately. And Black's passed pawns, they are going to start running.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to even see a saving grace here for Liem. He just has to hope that somehow all the pawns on the right side just disappear, get traded off, and then he can give up maybe a bishop for those two scary pass pawns on the other flank. It takes a lot of work, though. Yeah, I mean, he really does need a miracle. Despite what the evaluation bar says, it is very, very scary. OK, he's trying to force the issue here. He's given up one pawn. OK, he's going after those two runners. Maybe this is clever.
He's extremely resourceful, isn't he? You know, Liem, you see time and time again where he gets these horrible positions, but now maybe he's going to sort of start fighting like Duda.
Yeah, 20 seconds for Duda. The clock is ticking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't actually defend that pawn that's under fire on b5.
Yeah, you're right, Simon. This is an incredible resource. Where did he find this one? I mean, just tricking the black knight away just for 1 second and then winning the black b5 pawn. If one of those two black pawns falls, the other one will as well.
Looks like a draw now.
Yeah.
Can I say that? It keeps changing. Right? You know, if I say every single result, I'll probably get it right somehow. So that's my plan.
You got 1 and 3, right? You're
all right,
you're
I've covered my back.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. 5 seconds. OK, so...
Maybe a draw, but you take black.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a technical draw if you get rid of the A pawn, isn't it? Because the king is in front of those pawns, and I think you just get the rook behind, and that's supposed to be a draw, as far as I remember. But
Still not easy.
Still a lot of work.
I've lost it.
Yeah, OK. All right, it's not easy then. No, definitely not. I better not say it's easy. How easy? No, it's definitely... no, it definitely is tricky. Yeah, because those two pawns can be very dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks unlikely that black will be able to keep that A pawn. Maybe you can keep it for a while with some tricky checks, with some tricky tactics, but that A pawn is just all alone. And even if the black knight goes across to defend, black will be completely tied down. So
this is a technical draw, isn't it now, David?
Yeah.
And Jovanka, I mean, it is, but, you know...
But we were talking about computer evaluations. It says 0.0. We know it's a draw with best play, but black is the only one who can win. So white is the one who has to prove that it's 0.0.
Yeah.
You still need a lot of hard work. So it's a check.
Is he trying to hold on to that pawn, maybe?
Possibly.
I was wondering where the white king should go. Should it step up and try to munch on those pawns on the right? And that is the approach that Liem's gone for. I was tempted to do that.
Makes a lot of sense. If you can win both of black's pawns on the right side, then you can even give up your rook for the remaining pawn on the other flank. A knight is not enough to checkmate alone. So, yeah, why not start moving towards those pawns? You could move towards the knight now as well. Maybe this is the simplest.
Amazing little... I'm not really sure what happened there. Liem just finding that great little one move, wasn't it? That one moment which saved the game, where he found this very clever idea, which obviously the computer had seen, but so hard to find in the game.
He is sharp today, Liem.
Look at Liem, you know, accurate as ever. You know, he retreats the king to attack the knight with the same idea of just pursuing that knight, improving the king's position. And now it looks like it's totally drawn.
Should be, shouldn't it? And he's not even allowing any checks with the knight, so he's really controlling everything here.
Yeah, he didn't even want to take that black A pawn.
Don't take the pawn now.
No,
There is
no.
a pawn now. Yeah.
There would be a knight fork if the white rook takes that black pawn. Black's knight jumps to the c5 square with a fork. So try and keep the white king and rook as far away as possible from each other. That's the idea here. And just keep checking if in doubt. The black king doesn't really have too safe a square.
Wait, no, doesn't.
No.
I mean,
No safe square at all.
Definitely not. And if he steps back, then this does invite the king to come forward.
Yeah. The white king would love to just step forward.
And probably will do so right now.
Yeah. Looks like it secures the draw unless we're missing something. Missing something here. Duda, yeah. Trying for some chances, but looking away now because he knows that the win has definitely gone. White is just going to pick up all the black pawns.
It's kind of a cruel game for him, because if you're going to lose like this, you just lose out the opening. It's not so bad, but you lose, you get your hope up again. You're like, yay, and then you lose again, and it's like, you know, it's kind of it's tough, right?
We've all been there, right? Many times.
Yeah. I mean,
chess is brutal.
it is
Chess is a harsh.
brutal game. And I always try to explain, like, people who don't play competitions sometimes, they don't realise the emotions that you can go through, and they say, you know, it's only a game or something, but it's literally one of the worst feelings in the world, isn't it? To lose a bad game of chess sometimes, you know? Very hard to compare it to anything else. So,
it's not just the computer evaluations, it's the flow of the game. It's like ups and downs and having to adapt to new scenarios.
Yeah.
I think Liem's trying to play for a win here, to be honest. Just the way he's going.
Yeah, he could. I don't know why he didn't take that A pawn.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
This is a bit surprising.
But this way, I think you just nail it as well. You can capture the pawn, and there's just no way the black king can assist in the quest to promote those 2 remaining pawns. And it almost feels like you can go for more, really.
Just play it safe now. Get rid of both black pawns before it's too late. You don't want them to start running even further.
Yeah, this is just in time, isn't it? Yeah. So just quite close.
You can see on Liem's face as well. He's a bit disappointed. He wanted to win this game.
Yeah.
But he's resigned himself to the fact, OK, I'll take the draw. I'll win the match.
Take the money and the draw.
Yeah.
So.
And I think Duda's going to try one last trick, which won't work.
Who do we think's partying the hardest in Miami then?
Ooh.
Out of all the players,
maybe Liem after this game.
I can't see Liem being a big partier. No offence to Liem, but I think he's quite serious about his chess. I can see. I can see Hans is probably out to 8 a.m. every morning. You know.
Well, it's a party today for Liem Le. 2 wins and a draw in this game. It's over after 3 games. He takes all 3